Breaking news. China's relationship with Russia has grown closer as tensions with the United States have grown over the Israel-Hamas conflict. The conflict between Israel and Hamas appears to be widening the gulf between the United States and its allies on one side and China and its partner Russia on the other as fears grow of a wider conflict in the Middle East. Disagreements among members, including the United States, Russia, and China, all of whom hold vetoes, have stymied efforts to pass a resolution in response to the conflict at the United Nations Security Council this week. More than 4,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip and 1,400 in Israel as of Saturday, including at least 32 Americans, 19 Russians, and 4 Chinese. While Vice President Joe Biden has condemned Hamas' brutal attack on October 7 and supported restrained retaliation by Israeli forces, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin have taken different approaches. The two leaders' responses have been remarkably similar. They have both condemned attacks on civilians, called for a ceasefire and offered to mediate, but they have stopped short of explicitly condemning Hamas. In a meeting on Thursday, China and Russia reaffirmed their shared position on the issue and said they were closely coordinating their Middle East policy, both of which have called for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state as the solution to the conflict. China's Middle East envoy Jai Jun told his Russian counterpart, Mikhail Bogdanov, in Qatar that the legitimate national rights of the Palestinian people have not been protected, which he said was the fundamental reason for the current state of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Professor of International Affairs at George Washington University Robert Sutter said, "They're trying to keep their relationship stable," in reference to China and Russia. The balance is clearly shifting from the Israelis to the Palestinians. As relations with the West have worsened, China and Russia have grown closer, having declared a no-limits partnership weeks before Putin invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Because of China's political and economic backing for Russia's war, Moscow is seen as a key ally in Xi's efforts to convince developing countries to adopt his vision of a world order less dominated by the United States and its democratic allies. Putin's attendance at a global gathering in Beijing to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Xi's signature Belt and Road Initiative this week served as further evidence of the close ties between the two countries. Putin's trip was his first since March, when an international arrest warrant was issued for him in connection with the conflict in Ukraine. Moscow State University's Institute of Asian and African Studies director Alexei Maslev speculated that Putin's attendance had less to do with the initiative itself, which Russia is not a part of, and more to do with reassuring his powerful friends that he still has influence. Maslev claimed that Xi had shown Putin the greatest respect by placing him on the same line, on the same level as himself. He saw both leaders walk together into the Great Hall of the People. The Israel-Hamas conflict was not mentioned by Xi at the Belt and Road Forum. More bluntly, Foreign Minister Wang Yi told his Saudi counterpart that Israel had gone beyond the scope of self-defense and should stop its group punishment of people in Gaza, the Palestinian enclave from which Hamas launched the attack last week. There were 200 people, including children and the elderly, taken hostage in the Hamas attack, and Israel has expressed deep disappointment in China's response to the tragedy. According to Gedalia Afterman, director of the Asia Policy Program at Israel's Abba Eban Institute of International Diplomacy, from an Israeli perspective, this was Israel's 9/11 or even worse, and yet, the Chinese government responded as if it were just another round. Amir Lati, the Israeli consul general in Hong Kong, China, said that any country with ambitions in the Middle East must take a more balanced approach. He said, "We expect countries, especially countries that we see as friendly to Israel, to treat these horrific crimes as terrorism," adding, "and we were disappointed with some countries that were more ambiguous about condemnation of these acts." Lati also stated that calling for a two-state solution is irrelevant because Hamas does not believe in such a thing.